If you are new and are interested in getting a worm farm started, I have a few tips that I want you to think about before you begin your worm farming journey. So enjoy the video! Well, hello. Here are a few tips that I want you to think about before starting a worm farm. The first tip is to think about, why do you want to raise worms? Do you want to raise worms for a hobby so they can devour and consume your food scraps? Or do you want to use them to make profit, to sell to customers? Because you can sell worms for fishing. You can use their castings to sell as profit. And you can also use red wigglers and other composting worms to sell to other people that are interested into, having the worms consume their food scraps as well. Or do you just want the worms for your kids in school as a science project, just to show them how worms work? Another thing you have to think about is, where do you live? Do you live in a warm climate or a colder climate? And the reason you have to think about that is because there are certain worms that can adapt to certain climates. And if you live in a cold climate, you're going to have more problems with your worms surviving if you keep them outside. Warmer climates have a better success rate of worms living because the climate is more susceptible to the worms. Now you have to think about what are you going to keep them in? Do you want a large scale one, like a big homemade outdoor worm bin? Are you going to keep them in a Rubbermaid tote? Or are you going to keep them in a worm bin 360? I want you just to think for a second, where are you going to store your worms? If you can't at least keep one of your worm bins in a basement, I don't even want you to get started if you live in a cold climate. Because if you keep your worms outside in the cold, they are going to freeze, because that's a fact. I have lost a herd of worms because I let my worms freeze to death. But now I keep some worms in the basement. They're more successful downstairs because the climate's comfortable and they're able to migrate, multiply, and eat food scraps comfortably. So just think about it. Here's a few other videos that I want you to look at if you're more interested in the worms. But before you think about getting a worm farm started, think about these tips. Where are you going to keep them? Where do you live? And why do you want to raise worms? And then you can go from there. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. If you like what you're hearing from me, subscribe to my channel. I just want to say thank you for taking time out to watch this video. And you have a great day. Bye.